Hello and welcome back. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. Today, I thought we would do a full get ready with me. So right now I have skincare, sunscreen down, and that's it. So we're gonna start off with primer and then move on all the way to the end. And I thought we would use the new Chanel holiday collection. So I just received these. Well, I've been ordered it in parts. So I just received all of my items finally. And today we'll do a first impressions. And then I really want to play around with these products more, and I'll put out a full review later. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I always do is add my face primer. So you can see that shine you get from sunscreen. And the sunscreen I'm using today is the Biossance Mineral Sunscreen. I can't remember what it's called, but they only have one sunscreen. So it's from Biossance and I really like it. I've been wearing it, I don't know, I bought it sometime during the summer. I've been wearing it since then. So I have been enjoying that, no issues. And then I'm putting on the Hourglass primer. So I just put a little drop on my fingers and just kind of smear that in. And this primer feels more like a lotion or cream. It's got a thinner, more moisturizing consistency than a lot of other primers. One thing I always keep on my lap is a microfiber cloth, and I use this to, kind of wipe off my brushes in between, or, any mess or anything. If I have like a foundation sample on my hand, I'll wipe it on there and so forth. So you can see the shininess from the sunscreen. It has really kind of receded a lot with the primer, and that's why I really like the Surratt primer. My skin doesn't feel dry, but it doesn't have that like tacky touch to it anymore from the sunscreen. So today for foundation, we're gonna go ahead and use the Chanel Le Beige Healthy Glow Foundation. And I have shade BR12. So this is about 3/4 of a pump. And I'm going to go in with the Toyota Fupa brush. This is the Fupa 03. It's a synthetic foundation brush, and they're changing their line. So this particular brush is no longer being made. So if you want it, don't wait too long. I believe Beautylish still has some. One of my viewers just recently purchased one off of Beautylish. So I know I tried to get another one of these from another site, I guess about a month ago, and they were already gone. Anyway, the thing I love about this brush is I like using synthetic brushes for foundation and cream products in general because I just don't feel as nervous about using natural hair with the cream products, because a natural hair, sometimes if your cream product dries on it before you clean it off, you can create like this brittle hair that can break off. And it just always makes me a little bit more nervous using natural hair for cream products, especially if I don't remember to wash it right away. So I like using synthetic. This is incredibly soft. It fits easily in my hand, and I think it spreads the product beautifully. So it's not super dense, but it's not super fluffy either. So you kind of have best of both worlds. So I have this much foundation left. I'm just wiping that on my cloth. And I think for concealer today, we're gonna go in with the Clé de Peau, the concealer this is shade Ivory, and you can see it's a little bit deep and a little bit yellowish. So we're gonna pat a little bit of this on underneath. And this concealer in particular is a little thick. I haven't found a brush I really like using with it because I don't know, I prefer using my fingers to tap it in. Just gonna get a little bit more coverage right here. Didn't get a lot of sleep last night. It was one of those nights where my youngest just kept hearing every little noise outside. So she was scared. right, and then on top of that, I'm going in with the Chanel Rosy Light Drops, and I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of this. So I'm adding some to my hand, and I'm just gonna tap some on underneath. So I'm just using a clean finger to tap it on. And this will give it a little bit of a highlight, but the pink cast to it also kind of hides a little bit of that yellowness. So I've been really enjoying combining these because I'm still getting the coverage from the Clay to Peau concealer. And these Rosy Light Drops, I have to say, I love these. These came out with the spring collection, the LeBlanc collection, and I believe they still have them on the Chanel website, but I use them all the time. I mean, they're a highlighting liquid, but mixing it in with foundation gives you a really nice glow. You've got, you know, things like correcting concealer for me, or just like as a liquid highlight. So they are definitely something I use all the time, and I have been thinking of trying one of the Le Beige shades from that. I believe they have two, Sun-Kissed, and I don't remember what the other one is, but been thinking about trying those. No, I actually don't have a Chanel powder, so I'm using my Sisley Photo Puja Compact, and this is the Chikuhodo F01 brush, and I'm just gonna get a little bit of powder on here and just do a light dusting. So this powder, it just, you know, I feel like it really doesn't give you that powdery finish. Well, especially since I'm going in so light-handed, but it does give like a little blurring effect, and I love this powder. All right, now before we move on to anything else, let's go ahead and swatch the powder products. So each of the Chanel shadows do come in a color coordinated box. So this one here is the Aura Blanc, and these are the Ombre Premiere shadows, which I really like. They're a long wear shadow, and the ones last year were very creamy, so I'm curious to see how this texture is. Do have a mirror at the top, a foam tip applicator, and a little plastic disc on top. So this is Aura Blanc. And these are made in Italy. Let's swatch this. That looks really pretty. All right, let's go ahead and open the rest. This here is number 927, Quiver Rose. And by the way, each of these do come with a velvet pouch. And excuse, I do have a little pink stain on my finger. I was doing chalk with my youngest earlier this morning, so it didn't all come off. But anyway, here we go. So you can see it's definitely more of a coppery rose shade. This one is Or Antique. And I almost didn't get this one because I have the gold from last year's holiday collection, and I thought they might be pretty similar. So we're gonna go ahead and compare those. This here is 928 Pure Brun. And here we go. So these are the 4 eyeshadows, and I have to say right away, I can tell that the texture on these is different than the texture that came out last year. Let me get the gold one from last year and we'll compare. So this is one from last year, and you can see this one actually came with a little brush instead, and this is more of a cream product. So this is actually, on the back it says Ombre Premiere Creamy Powder Eyeshadow, and this is number 56, Grandeur. And I didn't think I would use this shade very much when I bought it, but I've actually used it more than I thought I would. You can see that last year's shade is going to be a lot more of a deeper gold. There's actually a little bit of a bronzy orangish kind of undertone to that compared to this year's, which is much softer and paler. So this year's Ombre Premieres say longwear powder eyeshadows. So it's definitely a different formula. And holding these side by side, you can see the color difference. You can see that this one for this year, Or Antique, is going to definitely be a softer gold, and it's more of a lighter yellow gold versus this one, which is going to be a little bit brassier. So one more time, here are the swatches for those. And although it looks like I haven't used this one much, I actually used it a lot more than I thought, but I use it more as an accent. So I don't use a lot of it at a time. It is a fantastic texture, but you know, this color, it blends so well with other colors. And that's usually how I use it. So these four, I'm excited to try these out today. And I have heard different things about application for these, which is one of the reasons I really want to test them before giving you a full review. Now let's go ahead and open up the blush. Again, it does have a coordinating color box. We have the velvet pouch, and this is an illuminating blush. So this one we have the Half Moon brush, and it sits on top of a black disc that you want to kind of keep as a brush lid. And here is the blush. So it's gorgeous. I mean, I don't think anyone would say that this chain, you know, imprint that they have on all of the items this year, I just think it's gorgeous. I don't think there's anybody who would disagree with that. This is a huge product. It's 8 grams. It has an 18-month shelf life. In contrast, the eyeshadows are 2 grams. They also have an 18-month shelf life. But I mean, just look at the size comparison here. It's definitely a lot of blush to use up. And it's an illuminating blush, which means, you know, you could technically use it as a highlight depending on your skin tone, but it is gonna kind of be like a highlight blush combined. And I almost didn't get this. I really was afraid this was gonna be too dark for my skin tone, and then I just went like the undertones of it because it does look pretty warm. But let's go ahead and see. I kind of couldn't resist. So here's the Quiver Rose. Here is the blush. You can see right away that the finish on these is different. The blush is going to have more of a satin finish, and there's a little bit of pearlescence in there, but definitely not super sparkly like these shadows. These shadows all have shimmer. Even Queer Brun has some, but the finish between Queer Brun and the blush, they're much more similar. They're much more of a satin finish with just a hint of sparkle, whereas these other ones have a lot more sparkle in them. And I feel like just touching them, I feel like with this formula, if you go in and kind of tap it on lightly, you can get a topper effect with at least these 3 shades. So I'm curious to see how that applies. I'm gonna swatch Quiver Rose one more time right below the blush so you can see that better. All right, I'm not sure if you can tell, but when the light hits this in a certain way, you see a little bit more of a pink look, and that's because the sparkle in here is a pink toned sparkle. And so that way, when you hit the light just the right way, you get a little bit more of a pink vibe versus that underlying copper. So it's really more of a copper with a touch of dusty rose in the base and then pink glitter in it. And I think that makes a big difference here with the blush, which is definitely going to be a bit rosier. There's a little bit less copper in it. They are similar, but not as similar as they first looked in photos. And then again, we have the difference in finish here. Now, I'm just going to add a little bit more here to the blush, but the little bit of sparkle in the blush compared to the eyeshadow is different. So again, we've got more of a satin finish. There are very, very minute particles in here, but I actually see a little bit more of a golder toned glimmer in here versus this one, which there is some gold in here as well, but you also have like a brighter pink sparkle. I think that's gonna give a much different effect, a very different effect on the skin. Sorry, I cannot speak properly today. All right, now let's go ahead and let's move you in closer and we'll get started with eyes. All right, so I'm taking the Synergy Crease 2 brush, and this is Or Blanc, and we're gonna start off with a dusting of this in the crease. So I've got a little bit of shadow here, and let's just see how this looks. So you get this kind of light champagne sparkle. I think on the swatch, it actually looked more like there was a little bit more gold in it, whereas on my eyes, it definitely looks more of an like ivory cream champagne versus a golder champagne. So I do think there's a little difference there. I'm gonna add just a touch more right under the brow here. Just gonna go all the way up, and I don't wanna have a stark brow highlight, but I want a little bit of a shimmer there. So I'm just gonna kind of blend that up. Okay, so that gave just a really light look. Again, I think that could be used as a topper. We'll have to try that out sometime. Now I'm gonna go in with 928 Queer Brun, and this is the Esom W36. And I'm actually going to get a little bit of this in the crease. So I'm starting with the pointier tip towards the outside, just kind of tracing that in. I'm gonna blend that out separately, but then I wanna take just a little bit of this and just kind of lay it in the outer corner as well. And I actually do wanna be light with this shade because this shade looked a lot more pigmented than the others. So I just wiped that brush off, and I'm just gonna kind of blend the crease just a little bit with this and make sure that color is dispersed all the way through. And then I'm gonna take the fluffy brush and go over that. So back in with the crease too, and I'm just gonna kind of blend this a little bit. And every time I switch eyes, I always wipe my brush off. So I think today the star of the show is going to be the Copper Rose. We're going to go in with Or Antique, and this is the Worker Pro from Sonia G. I'm going to lay down a little bit of this on the inner third, and this I think is going to be pretty light. Yeah, so that's going to give it kind of more a lighter, more ethereal look. I'm going to do the other eye with the applicator and see how dark this is. Yeah, if you want pigment, you got to go with these applicators. Look at that difference. It's a huge difference. I'm going to make it the same and just add the gold with the applicator. Now, I actually want to have a lighter dusting of the Quiver Rose, so I'm going back in with the Worker Pro, and I'm just going to get some on the brush here. I'm going to tap it in the middle. I'm going over the edges of the gold, and I'm actually going to go all the way over the Queer Brun. Just get a little bit more up here and just kind of tap that over. I think that's still a little bit stark. All right, so there it is. I think I actually want to add a little bit more of the Quiver Rose on top of the Or Antique. I really like the way that this sits on top of it. I don't know, it gives it a little extra dimension. I like that. All right, so I'm taking the crease 2, just kind of dusting here. And then I think, let's see how the the Or Blanc works as a little bit of a light dusting here. So I think let's try finger first. So I'm going to use my finger here, and I'm going to add just a little bit here to the center. Yeah, I like that. That gives just a little bit of an accent there. It kind of tones down the pinkness a little bit as well. So some people may like that. Okay, so I can definitely see using these 4 shades, you can come up with a wide variety of looks. So yeah, pretty nice. But I do want to see how it works as just a light topper. So I'm going to take the crease 2. I'm just going to get a little bit on here, and I'm just going to tap it over. So it doesn't have a huge effect, but it definitely does tone it down just a touch. And you get like a little bit more sparkle as well. So yeah, I think this shade could be used as a topper then. For the lash line, I'm going in with the Pencil 1 from Sonia G, and I'm going to use this on the upper lash line, and then the residue that's left on the brush is going on the lower lash line because I don't want it to be this dark. So I'm keeping it relatively close to the lash line for kind of that like smudged out look, since it is so thick. All right, so I wiped the brush off, and now I'm gonna go into Or Blanc. I'm gonna add this to the inner corner and right along the lower lash line in the beginning here. I think the Or Antique would also work very nicely as an inner corner highlight. All right, so this is my eye look with this so far. So while we're in close, let's go ahead and take a look at the illuminating blush. I'm just gonna angle the camera a little. Since this blush is on the darker side, I'm going in with a fluffier brush. This is the Soft Cheek from Sonia G. And let's get a light dusting of this. Okay, so I didn't pick up a ton because I was a little worried, but it still went on later than I expected. You know, you can really go in with and get kind of a lighter flush with this. That's kind of cool. So I think actually the formula is really nice, and it's not as illuminating as I expected. Here, I'm gonna make it a little bit darker now. Let's just go ahead and do it. So I was expecting it to be more like, I don't know, I guess more of that highlighter effect, whereas really it's more satin. There's a little bit of illumination to it, but definitely not what I was thinking. So I think that color is actually very wearable. I really like it actually. So I'd say it's a little bit more illuminating than the regular satin blushes. Now, while I have this side with the blush on, I'm going to try this other side with the eyeshadow. So I'm using the same brush, but I wiped it off. And let's just see if you can get a similar effect. Now, I'm thinking since this is much sparklier, yeah, I mean, you can already see it's a different look. And you're actually seeing a little bit more of the copper, I think, as I'm putting it on my skin. So you need less of this. This is going on more pigmented than the blush was. And look at that sheen. So definitely a very different look in my opinion. The illuminating blush is much more subdued and actually looks a little bit rosier on the cheek, whereas this one catches the light and looks more of a bronze copper shade. So I don't know, I personally I don't like this on the cheek. It's a little bit too shiny for me. So I'm gonna tone that down a little bit. I'm gonna try and pat some of this off. I'm just gonna go over that a little with the brush I use for my foundation. And if you see random glitter particles on my face, it's because my daughters bought these, well, I bought them these dresses that they have so much glitter. I've been trying to get the glitter off, but it's everywhere now. So got glitter everywhere. Just gonna dust over that again with my powder brush. I didn't add any powder or any foundation or anything, just kind of making sure the foundation is pretty similar. Now I'm gonna go back in with this blush on this side. right, so there you go. This side you can still see a little bit more of the eyeshadow, I think, underneath it, but not too bad. So I think this side looks a little bit better. This side you still see a little bit of that coppery glint. And I mean, you are going to have a little bit of that on both sides. They both have a little bit of that copper rose kind of look, but the blush, the illuminating blush, is definitely more subtle on the face than the Quiver Rose. And here are those swatches again up close. So this is the blush versus the Quiver Rose. And you can just see that this is gonna be a little bit more intense. And the sparkle, the way it catches the light, for me, it's just a little bit too much of my cheeks, but that might be what some people are looking for. So while I'm up close, here you go. We've got Or Blanc, Quiver Rose, Or Antique, Queer Brun, and then the illuminating blush. What is that even called? Let's see here. Just Le Chien de Chanel Illuminating Blush. For some reason, I thought I had a color name as well, but I guess not. All right, so I think I'm going to do my brows and mascara off camera, and I'll meet you back and we'll finish up. We've got all the lipsticks to try on. Alright, so I added my mascara. I used the Chanel mascara base and the Guerlain Matte Eyes mascara in brown. And then for my brows, I used the Gucci brow pencil in 03 and the Surratt brow pomade, which is clear. So I think you don't need any additional highlight with this blush. You get enough of a subtle highlight. You know, it catches the light enough that you really don't need to add anything else. If you wanted to bling it up, I would go with like a golder toned highlight personally, like a soft gold. I think that would accent it very nicely. And let's go ahead and try on lips. So I ran to the bathroom and I just got my microfiber cloth wet. In between lip swatches, I want to clean my lips and get the color off. So let's go ahead and start with the lightest and move to the deepest. All right, so first we have shade 107, and the lipsticks come in these boxes. They are more than the permanent regular line lipsticks. These are limited edition for the holidays, and I did pick them up last year as well. I love these. These are the Rouge Allure Luminous Intense Lip Color. So 107 or beige is the lightest. These also have an 18-month shelf life, and they are made in France. So if you're not familiar with these, you have the Chanel logo on the top. Here it's imprinted here. You've got the gold corners, and on the bottom you have your expiration information and color code and so forth. So to open this, you just click this and pull it out, and this is Or Beige. So let's do the lipsticks on my hand. This is one swipe of Or Beige, and you can see that you've got some, there it is, built up. There's a little bit of a gold sparkle in here. I think it's gold. And it's actually not just gold. It looks like there's a little bit of silver in there as well. So that is Or Beige. And I do have Adrian right here as well, because I did recently pick that up. So I'm gonna swatch that right here. This one here is Adrian. And there they are next to each other. So you can see that they are similar. Adrian is going to be a little bit warmer in tone, and it's also a little bit browner. And we don't have the sparkle in Adrian. So there are some differences, but they are going to be fairly similar. Now the packaging for Adrian, this is a Rouge Cocoa, and it comes in a click style. We're going to do all the hand swatches first, and then I will come up close and we'll do the lip swatches. Next up, we have 117 or Quiver. And here's one thin swipe. And there it is. So again, all of these in this holiday line, they all have some sparkle in them. I have to say this one is definitely more pink than I thought it was online. It's very pretty though. I really like this one. The sparkle in this appears more silver based. I think there's probably a little gold, but honestly, I don't really see any. It looks mostly silver to me. Next up, we have Rouge d'Or number 127, and this is a red. Look at that. So that's a blue-based red. So it's on the cooler side, and there is definitely going to be some sparkle in here. And the sparkle in this looks to be a mix of silver and gold and like a reddish pink shade as well. I think that's going to be gorgeous and very, very festive for the holidays. And last up, we have a number 137, Porcelain d'Or. Is that what it was? Yep. And this is going to be a deep purple. Oh, it's actually not as purple as I thought. So it's very deep purple looking in the tube, but on the hand, it's really much more of a berry shade. You can see that the, what was this, Cuivre, maybe? This one here, 117, that one is much more pink, and it's a warmer tone pink compared to this. This is going to be berry, and you've got a touch of purple in there as well. So let's build that one up. And the sparkles in here seem to be silver and a pinky red color. All right, so here these are, and I have one more lipstick I want to compare this to. So last year, right after the holidays, Chanel came out with the Camellia line of lipsticks that were limited edition, and I picked up quite a few of them in, well, I picked up, I think all but one of the satin formula. So this is number 637, Camellia Porpora. And look, it looks pretty similar in the tube. So let's see how these compare. So Camellia Porpora is going to be deeper. There's no sparkle in this. It's a true satin finish. And there we go. So they are very different. I was kind of thinking that they would be similar, but the new one is definitely a lot pinker. I think it's going to be a little bit more wearable for a lot of people. It's also, these are all more sheer with one coat. So you can easily, you know, pat it on, get a light stain, or just kind of have like a light swipe if you want a lighter color, or you could build them up into these darker swatches. But just to show you how similar these are in the tube, you know, they are really close. So this is the Camellia Porpora, and this is the Porcelain d'Or. And you can see that they look very similar in the tube, but very different on the hand. All right, I'm gonna bring you in a bit closer and we're gonna do lip swatches, and we're gonna go in this same order here. Okay, right now I don't have anything on my lips. I put on chapstick this morning, but I just made sure I wiped it on my cloth to get anything off. And this is Or Beige. So this is one thin layer of it. And you can really see more of the sparkle on my lips versus the hand swatch. I just wanted to show you, after removal, you still have some of the glitter left. So that may be a concern for some people. Not the best application there, but this is 117 or Cuivre. This is just a bit darker. 127, Rouge d'Or. One light layer. And here's more of it. I really like this color. This is definitely a festive holiday red. I love the glitter in it. And with the last one here, this is Porcelain d'Or, and it's number 137. I'm gonna tap it on so you can see what a light stain could look like. So this is gonna be lighter than just one swipe across. This would be pretty similar to one swipe on the bottom and the top lip. And here it is built up a little bit. Okay, so I decided to leave this last lipstick on. This is the Porcelain Door. And I wanted to talk about the texture of these a little bit. So when I first put on the Or Beige, it felt a little bit thinner than what I was expecting. It wasn't quite as creamy as some of the other Chanel lipsticks I have. And that was with the one thin coat. So if you put it on, it definitely feels very thin with one thin coat. And then if you put on a couple of layers, it has a creamier feel to it. Feels more like some of my other Rouge Allure lipsticks. And I'd say that's pretty true for all of them. Now, as to grittiness, at this point, I haven't really noticed any, but I felt like I felt a little bit of the glitter in the Rouge D'Or, the red one. And that was really more just after I had, when I was rubbing my lips together after applying several layers, and then that feeling kind of dissipated. So I'll be playing with those more to figure out how much grittiness or texture there is due to the sparkle. But again, as you could see, whenever I removed the lipstick, and the way I remove the lipsticks is first I cleanse the lips with the Bioderma Sensibio, and if you've ever cleaned your lips with this, you'll know it has a terrible taste. And I also feel like if you still have the residue from this left, things don't go on quite as smoothly with any makeup, in my opinion. I feel like there's still something there. So then I rinse it off with water that, you know, I dampened my microfiber cloth with. So that's how I clean off in between. Perhaps if you were to splash water in your face, the glitter would go away more, but I think you can really see what you're going to get with repeated applications. So we'll see how the grittiness goes. Right now, I don't feel any. I didn't notice any with the thin layers for any of the shades. It was really just the Rouge D'Or where I kind of felt like I might be feeling something and I couldn't really tell for sure. So we will find out after I do some more testing with this. Overall though, I think the look came out really nice. I am actually pleasantly surprised by this collection. I'm still I want to play around with these eyeshadows before I give an opinion on them, but I do have to say that the colors looked a little bit better than I anticipated, but I need to play with them more. I'm not completely sold on the warmth of the eyeshadows in the way that I applied them today. However, I think there are quite a few different, you know, combinations and so forth that I can use to get a look that I'm really happy with. So I like this one, but I don't love it. And I think I can do better. So the blush though has been a very pleasant surprise. So I'm going to test it with a firmer, more dense brush as well to see how it applies with that. But using this light fluffy brush today really gives more of a soft wash. And you saw how many times I actually went over that. And yes, I wasn't overloading my brush with product, but it really gives a soft effect. And I feel like if you don't want a lot of radiance or illumination, you can put on a lighter layer and it still stays pretty, you know, pretty satin versus illuminating. So it's really, you know, more of a subtle illumination compared to what I thought, unless you really pile the product on. And again, for deeper skin tones, this would be a really nice highlight if you're looking for something subtle. Now, as for the lipstick shades, I really like all of the colors, so I'm very happy I picked them up. I have to say, I always really liked Chanel lipsticks, and I originally started wearing them because at the time, a lot of the brands that were pretty popular were, you know, they didn't work so well with my particular lip chemistry. They would turn like pink or orange, and I had a hard time finding colors that stayed true. And Chanel was one of the brands that I found that worked really well with my particular lips. Since then, this was a long time ago now, like probably 10 years at least. And since that time, I think a lot of brands have done, they now work better. I don't know if my particular skin chemistry has altered as I've gotten older, or if the brands have changed their formulas, but there are a lot more that I can wear now without having that effect than I could before. However, Chanel lipsticks always have a place in my heart because they stay true to color, they last well on the lips, and the pigmentation, you know, you can really get whatever kind of look you are looking for. And I've primarily only worn their satin formulas, but I love them. They give you a really nice sophisticated sheen, and they have a wide range of colors. In particular, I've always gravitated towards Chanel's reds and more like burgundy shades compared to their lighter shades. I want to start experimenting more with their lighter shades in 2021. So that's going to be one of my goals. But I mean, look at the sheen on these lips. You can't get much better than that. I really love them. So hopefully I didn't gush too much, but thank you so much for joining me as I played around with my new Chanel holiday collection and kind of explored these goodies. And we will continue testing, and I will have a full review up in a little while, maybe like a week or so. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Oh, and if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please hit that and the notification bell so you will know when my next video pops up. And if you have any comments or suggestions or product recommendations, please leave them down below in the comments. Thank you so much and have a great day. Okay, and just real quickly before I go, I wanted to run through the swatches one more time. So here we have the 4 eyeshadows. This is Or Blanc, Cuivre Rose, Or Antique, Cuir Brun. And then here, this is the Illuminating Blush in Chêne de Chanel. And this is the Cuivre Rose eyeshadow again. So you can see the difference between them. This swatch here was the Grandeur from last year's holiday collection, which is a creamed powder shadow. And then for lip swatches, this here is Adrienne from the Rouge Coco line. And then these 4 are from the holiday lipsticks. We have Or Beige, Or Cuivre. This is Rouge d'Or. And this last one is Pourpre d'Or. And this is the Camellia lipstick from last year, which is called Camellia Porpra. So don't forget to let me know what you think of this holiday collection down below in the comments. I'd really love to get your feedback and your opinions. And let me know if you have picked anything up already or if you're planning to. Thank you so much.